What is psychological abuse? It is a form of both mental and emotional abuse. Psychological abuse is an ill intended use of verbal and non physical actions that can be used in order to manipulate an individual, distort their reality, hurt someone or weaken them, influence their thoughts, and change a person's sense of self. How to know if someone is psychologically abusing you. There are many ways of telling, these are just a few. Name calling, put downs like stupid, loser, swear words. Patronizing, using phrases like, I know you're trying, but this is just something you will never understand. Character assassination, you always upset me. And finding ways to make you feel like you're guilty or you're a bad person. Who can I speak to about psychological abuse? Tell a trusted adult, like a counselor, family member, teacher, whomever you feel comfortable telling. If you'd rather text a counselor than speak to someone in your direct life, you can rely on the crisis text line. Text 4663 to 741 to connect with a crisis counselor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Child abuse. When child abuse is taking place in a household, usually children are not that familiar that it could be a dangerous act. Child abuse that is taking place within an environment can be hidden and kept a secret due to the perpetrator decision not to tell anyone. They will allow the young victim to engage in certain visual activities. Signs that will let you know if a child is exposed to child abuse are behavioral changes, trouble at school, difficult time sleeping, afraid of the person, physical symptoms including pregnancy or any STDs, poor hygiene, and injuries and bruises towards the child's body. Who the child can speak to when they see this type of abuse? The child can speak to a child and youth care practitioner, and a child and youth care practitioner must contact the CSA and the Toronto Police Services. One important thing a child and youth worker should know is that when listening to the child, they should allow the child to feel safe and comfortable when sharing information like this. Please directly remove the child from the environment onto a safer place. And also, please take a child for a checkup at a hospital just to make sure that the child is okay. And also, please contact authorities so they could take matters into their hands.
Child abuse is when any physical force or action by a caregiver or parent which could result in injury to a child. Some physical abuse can be cuts, bruises, burning, biting a child, or even throwing an adult or a child. Question 1. How to know if abuse is happening in your household? You can tell by the way a child or youth would carry themselves and how they do certain things that they enjoy. Physical abuse is when you see cuts, bruises, burns, marks that look like the child or youth is in danger and being abused in the household. You can also know if physical abuse is happening in a household by noticing that a child or youth keeps wearing long sleeves or scarves in the hot summer, also wearing makeup or heavier than normal makeup, or even wearing sunglasses all the time inside. Who can I speak to about abuse? When there's physical abuse or any type of abuse going on in a household, there is a few helplines that you can reach out to support and advice. Here are some suggestions of people you can call and talk to about abuse, which is National Domestic Violence Hotline, National Teen Dating Hotline. They are both 24 hours. They are both available 24 hours and 7 days a week. I also attached a website below. It explains things like how you should go about approaching situations. It also says how to help children and youth who are going through abuse and how to help someone that is being abused.
So let's talk about different ways of disciplining a child. According to a New York Times article, there are 4 different ways that you could use to discipline a child. One is being consistent. So if there's more than one adult taking care of your child or youth, every adult has to enforce the same behavioral standards. So that could mean that the parent of the child, for instance, indicates that they need to finish their homework in order for them to get free time. Every adult has to enforce the same behavioral standard. Everyone has to say, okay, you have to finish your homework before you can have free time. Second one is using positive enforcement. So when your child or youth behaves accordingly, you can praise them for their goodness. So that could be a reward, such as going to the movies. Third is doing timeout. So according to the article, they say that if your child is 2, then they would have a 2-minute timeout. So it's 1 minute per year. So if let's say if you have a youth who's 15, then they would have a 15-minute timeout. And lastly is taking a timeout for yourself. So if this means that if your child or youth crosses your boundaries and it gets to the point where your child or youth makes you so upset that you automatically think that spanking your child is the best option, then that indicates that you need to have a timeout for yourself. So you could have a cup of coffee or tea, go out for a walk, anything that will distract you, so that way you can recollect your thoughts and think about a different way of disciplining without any form of abuse or violence. Something that I forgot to mention was that as you are taking a timeout, if you have a other parent or guardian or any other adult who is helping you taking care of your child, perhaps it would be a best option for you as you are trying to do a timeout for yourself, that the other adult takes care of your child or youth in the meantime. Then, once you recollect your thoughts and you think through everything, then you can go back to your child or youth and have a...
Hi, this is Jade Benstone, and I'll be covering resources. So resources for young people to contact who witness family violence includes their local police department, their family doctor, a community health center in their area, or a trusted friend or family member. The main resource highlighted, in which our group found to be important to include, was the Redwood Shelter. It is located in Toronto with a confidential address that offers several services to anyone but adult cis men. The shelter accepts young people of any gender, adult women, and adult non-binary persons who are in need of supports while fleeing. This isn't dismissing the fact that cis men can and are abused and or mistreated, but this agency's goal is to address the needs of young people and offers families who contact them a confidential location to receive support and safety from domestic and or family violence. Services they offer includes over the phone, anonymous virtual settings, as well as workshops and services that they offer on site for young people and adults. They are trauma-based and trauma-informed, as well as culturally sensitive, have trained counselors and volunteers on staff, and have several programs offered. Programs offered at the site include parenting supports that highlight positive discipline and child development, addresses food insecurities through providing meals, addresses each individual's necessities of living like care packages upon intake, food 3 meals a day, hygiene, bedding, weekly child care supplies, and if eligible, they can receive a weekly personal needs allowance. They also offer counseling and therapy supports, legal supports, harm reduction, as well as peer support groups to develop skills and to guide them towards self-actualization. Other contacts included highlights 911 in case of emergencies, the Kids Help phone line, the Trans Lifeline for trans and gender nonconforming persons, Hope for Wellness for Indigenous women, and Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline with multilingual services available.
Changing public attitudes towards child abuse prevention. In order to change the public's attitude towards child abuse, we must use effective prevention strategies that focus on policies, practices, and societal norms in order to create safe and nurturing relationships and environments. It's important to remember that things will get better, but everyone needs to be willing and open to creating a change. Without our help, these children and youth can face long-term consequences that can carry on into adulthood.